Everybody you go by, look at every truck you see, and think that if it was your child, how much you would want him to come home.
On June 9, 1995, the small town of Alma, Arkansas, buzzed with the excitement of a Little League baseball game. Families cheered from the stands. Kids laughed as they chased fireflies under the glow of a warm summer night. 6-year-old Morgan Nick played happily just feet from her mother. But in a heartbeat, this joyful scene turned into every parent's worst nightmare. Morgan vanished without a trace. The community sprang into action with frantic searches. Whispers soon spread of a mysterious man and a red truck spotted nearby. Nearly 3 decades later, her disappearance still haunts Arkansas as one of its most chilling unsolved mysteries. It stands as a stark reminder that danger can strike even in the safest of places.
We got a call about, I believe it was at 11:07 p.m. A missing child at the Alma Little League ballpark on Walnut Street here in Alma.
On June 9, 1995, 6-year-old Morgan Nick vanished from a Little League baseball game in Alma, Arkansas, a tight-knit small town. She was playing with friends, chasing fireflies near the parking lot, when she slipped out of sight for just a moment. That moment changed everything. Witnesses reported a creepy man lingering nearby, watching the children play. Moments later, a red pickup truck with a white camper shell roared out of the lot and into the night. Despite a massive investigation with local police, the FBI, and thousands of leads, Morgan remains missing. Her community and her mother, Colleen, are still haunted by the same questions. What happened that night? Who took Morgan? And where is she now? Morgan Nick was more than just a name in a headline. She was a shy, bright 6-year-old with blonde hair and sparkling blue eyes that lit up whenever she smiled. Morgan had a heart full of simple joys. She adored crisp, juicy apples, often munching on them while curled up with her beloved cat. As a proud member of her Girl Scout troop, she took every badge seriously, eager to learn and grow. Her mother, Colleen, often shared how Morgan's dreams were as big as her imagination. One day she wanted to be a doctor, healing people with her kindness. The next she pictured herself as a circus performer, dazzling crowds with her courage and grace. That warm summer night in Alma, Morgan was just a little girl, giggling with her friends as they chased fireflies under the stars. Their laughter echoed through the air, a soundtrack of pure, untainted happiness. But in a heartbeat, that innocence was stolen. Morgan vanished, leaving behind only the memory of her smile and the dreams she never got to chase. It was a typical summer night in Alma, Arkansas. Families crowded the baseball field. Kids ran wild with boundless energy. Laughter mingled with the crack of bats. The air buzzed with summer joy. 6-year-old Morgan Nick played among them. Her blonde hair glowed under the field lights. She giggled with her friends Jessica and Ty. The scene felt safe and warm. Alma was a small town where nothing bad ever happened. Around 10:30 p.m. Morgan turned to her mom Colleen. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. She begged to catch fireflies with her friends near the parking lot. Colleen paused. A flicker of worry crossed her mind. But the field was busy. The lot was close. She trusted the safety of the moment. With a smile she nodded. Morgan dashed off. Her laughter echoed as she joined Jessica and Ty. The girls reached the edge of the parking lot. Grass gave way to gravel. Fireflies flickered like tiny stars. Jessica and Ty soon stopped. They sat by the front of a car. Sand in their shoes annoyed them. They shook it out while chatting. Morgan stayed back alone. She stood near the rear of the car. Her focus remained on the glowing bugs. Then everything changed. Witnesses noticed a man in the shadows. He didn't fit in. His stillness unnerved them. They later called him creepy. His eyes locked on Morgan. She moved unaware. In an instant she vanished. No sound broke the night. No cry rang out. Just silence where she'd been. At that exact moment, a red pickup truck roared to life. Its white camper shell gleamed faintly. The engine growled. Tires kicked up dust. It sped from the lot. Taillights faded into the dark. Morgan was gone. Dread settled over Alma. The night Morgan vanished, the quiet town of Alma was thrust into chaos. Police officers and worried neighbors scoured the streets, their voices echoing through the night as they desperately searched for the missing 6-year-old. But as dawn broke, their worst fears were realized. Morgan was nowhere to be found. Days bled into weeks, each passing moment heavy with uncertainty and dread. Eyewitnesses spoke of a mysterious man and a red pickup truck lurking near the apartment complex. The police released sketches, pleading for information, but every promising lead crumbled into dust. The FBI joined the hunt, their agents sifting through a mountain of tips, yet the trail grew colder with each passing year. In 2001, a haunting image was unveiled. It was an age-progressed photo of Morgan, a glimpse of the teenager she might have become. The pictures stirred hearts and headlines, but the mystery endured. Decades later, searches in Spiro, Oklahoma, fueled by fresh tips, reignited hope. In 2010 and 2017, investigators combed the area, but the earth yielded no secrets, and Morgan's fate remained shrouded in shadow. Then, in 2021, a name surfaced. Jack Lincks, a convicted sex offender living near Alma when Morgan disappeared, became a key person of interest. His red pickup truck matched the description, and his dark past cast a long shadow over the case. As authorities zeroed in on Lincks, the investigation took on new urgency, driven by the hope that, at last, the truth might be within reach. It was a quiet evening in West Calne Township on May 4th, 2024 when the phone rang at the local 911 dispatch center at exactly 7:28 p.m. The caller was Rendell Hoagland, his voice unsteady as he told the operator that his 12-year-old daughter Melinda was unresponsive after a bike accident. He painted a picture of a tragic mishap, a child who had simply lost control and crashed into a tree, but as the minutes ticked by and first responders raced to the scene, they had no idea they were about to walk into. A nightmare far worse than any accident. When paramedics arrived at the modest family home, they were met with a sight that would haunt them forever. Melinda Hoagland lay motionless on the floor, her small body so thin it was almost skeletal, weighing just 50 pounds, less than half of what a healthy girl her age should weigh. Her skin was pale, stretched tight over her bones, and covered in bruises, some fresh, some faded, but all telling a story of relentless pain. Her arms and legs bore the marks of broken bones that had never properly healed, and her eyes, once bright and full of dreams, were now hollow, sunken deep into her fragile face. This wasn't the result of a bike accident. This was something much darker. As paramedics rushed Melinda to the hospital fighting to keep her alive, the truth began to unravel. She was airlifted to Paoli Hospital's trauma unit, but despite their best efforts, her body had endured too much for too long. Just hours later, at 9:58 p.m., Melinda Hoagland was pronounced dead. The cause: starvation and severe blunt force trauma injuries that had been inflicted over months, maybe even years. But the horror didn't end there. When investigators began digging into what had really happened inside that home, they uncovered evidence so chilling it defied belief. Deleted videos recovered from Rendell and Cindy's phones and security cameras painted a picture of systematic torture. Melinda was shackled to furniture, her tiny ankle cuffed to a dresser or a table leg for hours on end, unable to move, unable to rest. She was forced into grueling exercises, push-ups, squats, running in place until her legs gave out, and when she collapsed from exhaustion, the punishment only got worse. In one video, she was made to balance heavy books on her head, her arms trembling under the weight, and if they fell, she was beaten, starved for days at a time, denied even the smallest scrap of food while her abusers ate in front of her. But perhaps the most horrifying part was how they controlled her. Even when they weren't there, a camera system installed throughout the house allowed Rendell and Cindy to monitor Melinda's every move. They would berate her through the speakers, their voices booming from the walls as she cowered in fear. "Keep moving," they'd scream, or "You're not done yet." Even when she was alone, she was never truly alone, always under their watchful eyes, always trapped in their web of cruelty. In some footage, she could be seen shivering on the bare floor of the basement, wrapped in nothing but a thin blanket, her breath visible in the cold air, begging for warmth, for food, for mercy. But mercy never came. The videos showed a child who had been stripped of everything, her freedom, her dignity, her hope. And as investigators watched hour after hour of this footage, they realized this wasn't just abuse, it was a slow, deliberate campaign to break her body and spirit, a campaign that ended only when Melinda's heart finally gave out. From the second paramedics arrived at that West Cown Township home on May 4th, 2024, they knew something was off. Rendell Hoagland's claim of a bike accident didn't hold water, not when they saw Melinda. Her body was a wreck, emaciated at just 50 pounds, covered in bruises that ranged from fresh to faded and broken bones. Some weeks old, screamed of something far worse than a fall. Police were on it, instantly dismissing the flimsy excuse her injuries weren't random, or new, they were extensive, deliberate. Pattern etched into her skin that told a story of torment, not a single mishap. Investigators jumped into action, questioning Rendell and his girlfriend Cindy Warren. Their responses were shaky, full of holes, and it was obvious they were covering up something big. But suspicion wasn't enough. They needed proof, and they needed it fast. Melinda's broken body was the first clue, but the real story was about to unfold. The case cracked wide open when detectives got their hands on the couple's phones after a warrant came through. They found hundreds of deleted videos buried in the data, and with the help of digital forensics experts, they brought those files back to life. What they saw was pure horror. Months of abuse laid bare. Melinda shackled to furniture, her wrists and ankles bound by chains, forced to stand for hours or run in place until her legs gave out. In one video, she held heavy books over her head, her arms trembling under the strain, and when they dropped, the punishment was immediate and vicious. Other clips showed a twisted system of control. Cameras watched her every move, even when Rendell and Cindy weren't there, their voices barking orders through speakers. "Get up. Keep going." Cold and relentless, it was a living nightmare captured on screen, undeniable evidence of the hell she endured, and it only got worse from there. The autopsy hit like a sledgehammer. On May 5, 2024, the Chester County coroner laid out the grim truth. Melinda Hoagland died from starvation and blunt force trauma. Her body was a roadmap of suffering, over 75 bruises and sores scattered across her from head to toe, some fresh, some healing, showing she'd been beaten again and again. Her arms, legs, and ribs carried fractures in different stages, old breaks next to new ones. Her stomach was empty, her muscles wasted, her organs failing long before the end. It wasn't a quick death, it was slow, calculated cruelty stretched out over months. The bike accident tale was a pathetic lie, and the medical examiner's report tore it to shreds. This was no accident, it was a campaign of abuse that drained her life bit by bit until there was nothing left. The evidence was overwhelming, and it pointed straight at Rendell and Cindy. The weight of it all rippled outward. Detectives who'd seen the worst of humanity were rattled. One said later, "You think you're ready, but this breaks you." The community felt it too. Shock turned to rage. How could this happen? How could a father do this to his own child? Those questions lingered heavy and unanswered, but for the investigators, the focus stayed sharp. They had the videos, the autopsy, the truth, and they wouldn't stop until justice was served. The case against Rendell Hoagland and Cindy Warren was locked and built on the bones of a girl who deserved so much more than the suffering they gave her.